Hi everyone, Gina Kraft, District Instructional Technology Coach, and I wanted to show you a resource that Tim Wheeler, an elementary school teacher, had passed along to me. I thought this would be a really great resource for discussion with your students and just making a visual representation kind of their thought process and what they're thinking about certain things. So this is called Book Snaps. It's kind of based off of the idea of Snapchat and just getting a quick snapshot of student information, what they know, what they want to show you. But in a very visually appealing way. So I am within Google Slides, and the first thing that I've done is I created just a direction slide. So this obviously has the different tasks that your students would be completing. I wanted this here so that my students could always go back to it if they needed to, and so an easy way of doing that is having it linked to new slides. So I'm going to go to this top kind of left hand corner. There's a plus sign with the arrow. I'm going to do the section header. This is going to be kind of like my template slide for my students. So I want them obviously to have their name on their slide. And then in order for this to link back to that first slide, I'm going to hit insert and then image and search the web. And I'm going to do like the thinking emoji. So in case my students have questions, I don't remember the directions, what they're supposed to be doing, this is going to take them directly back to that direction slide. I'm going to resize it and I'm going to move it over to the right hand corner so it's not too big. And then up here in the taskbar, there's this insert link. It looks like a paperclip. I'm going to select that and I'm going to go to slides in this presentation and I'm going to go to first slide. I'm going to apply that. So this is my template slide. And so I'm going to just copy this for each student for the number of students I have. For the sake of time, I'm just going to copy and paste as if I have 5 students. You would want to make a copy of this slide for each of your students depending on how many students you have in your class that would be participating in this. I'm just going to go to this last slide. We're going to pretend this is my slide. And I'm going to change my name. And based on what you want and your discretion, you could have students have the ability to, personalize it, change colors and fonts based on what you want your students to be able to do. So I'm just going to change that to a font that I like a little bit more. And then I'm going to insert a cover of my book. So I'm going to go back into that insert, go over to image, and then go back to search the web. And what I'm going to be looking at is from Hunger Games. So we're just going to select this picture. I'm going to click and then I'm going to drag and drop it into my slide. It's going to be big and I'm just going to resize it so that it's going to kind of fit the needs that I want. I'm going to make it far smaller and I'm going to just put it up here. Okay, so the next part is going to be the passage that I'm going to be referring to. If your students want to take a picture of this in their book, that is fine. If they wanted to save it to their drive and insert it from their drive, that is fine too. But I actually already have this just here from Google. So I'm just going to right click on this, copy image, and then I'm just going to paste that back into my slide. Now this is kind of a small image and I definitely don't need all this text, so I'm going to double click in that on that picture and I'm going to crop this so that it's going to just have what I'm going to need. And then I'm going to be able to make that a lot bigger so I can actually read it. Just going to drag and drop this. And that's going to work a little bit better for me. So this is going to be the passage that my students would be looking at. And so I want to make sure that I know exactly what portion they're looking at. So I'm going to kind of highlight that in a couple of different ways. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a shape around the text so that I know what portion of the passage they're looking at. So I went to this little shape icon in that taskbar, and I'm going to go down to shapes, and then I'm going to go to this rectangle, and I'm going to draw a box around the text that I'm looking at. When I let go of my cursor, that's going to create a box, but I don't want it filled in. I obviously covered up the text. I don't want that. So I'm going to go back up to that taskbar, and there's like a paint bucket. I'm going to make it transparent So now I can see my text, but I'm also going to make this line a little bit heftier just so that I can see it. Okay, so I know that this is the portion now that my student is looking at. Another way that we could kind of highlight this is to also go to shape, arrows, and then you could draw an arrow. I specifically am going to be looking at just this text right here. And then I could change that color. I'll make it red just so that it pops out a little bit more. So I can already tell exactly what my student is looking at, and so I am going to have my student also maybe give me another picture. Let's say I'm going to do the embarrassed emoji. And I'm going to, again, just drag and drop that in. And just resize it. And actually, I think I want this one. I think this one's going to be a little bit more accurate to my passage. And so I'm going to just make this the size that I want, and then I'm going to actually draw a speech bubble. So this would be where my student is going to write just kind of their discussion or their question, or how they're interpreting this. So I'm going to go over to this callouts, and I'm going to draw a speech bubble next to my emoji. Again, I can kind of make this what I want. So we're just going to make this white, and then I'm just going to double click in there. Maybe I'm asking my students to kind of infer about something that's happening in the passage. So I'm going to say I can infer that Katniss is nervous. And again, I know this is specifically to that part in the passage because I had my students highlight the passage, but not only that, even more specifically, the certain sentence or the certain piece within that passage that they're going to be talking about. I'm going to just format this a little bit more just so that I like it a little bit better. I'm going to change this text just to kind of personalize it a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to also change the background of my slide. I can do that here in that taskbar and go to background and then change the background. Students can do this not only just to kind of personalize it, but maybe once they change the background, then that means that they're finished. So as a visual representation for you, when you're looking at your slide deck and all of these different ones that are white, those are ones that your students are still working on. But if they change the color of the background, and I'm actually going to do something even more different. When they change the color of their background, that's kind of a cue to you that that student's slide is finished and ready for you to kind of look at. So this is just the book snaps that, again, thank you, Tim Wheeler, for kind of showing this to me. I thought this would be a really great tool that you could use with your students whenever they are showing you what they know, what they've learned, and their thoughts about certain passages or concepts within their text.